Okay, for people joining this live stream, hey, we got some background noise there. We are talking about the Unity link for Wolfram Language, which has been a project we've been working on for quite a number of years, but it should now be becoming mature and is going to be released in the next version of the language. So, by the way, that is the bad link type here. That shouldn't be the same link type as these here. These are all supposed to be different link types, right? Roger?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a pass with Brian to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, and in fact, all of these things shouldn't be blue because they're package symbols, right? They should be that they have this teal color, but they're supposed to be.
But that's what I'm saying. There needs to be a pass with Brian.
Okay, all right, okay. So where do we start here?
So let me just preface this a little bit. So with these things, it's very important to how to get started, how to do basic things. And these are basically workflow style documentations that gets you past a lot of things.
Looks good. Looks promising. I mean, it looks encouraging that this might be useful. What's this?
Well, it's not finished.
Okay. We are still working on it, so it's not finished. The first example there just showed the format, and this is more the list.
These aren't even links. Oh, some of them are links.
Yeah, we are still working on them. So.
Oops, what the heck is that? That was really weird. Whatever happened there? I clicked it and it got bigger. I would have expected some kind of click to copy behavior, but that is confusing, if I might say so. To call the disk, I mean, well, whatever. You say call it poly and make it be a polyhedron or something. Oh, it isn't a regular polygon of 5 or some such other thing. I would suggest. Minor point. Am I making sense?
So that's one side of these things, micro workflows to get you going.
Yeah, so let me try doing this. Can I try doing this?
You have to follow the whole thing. You can't just jump in the middle.
I mean, it depends on what you want to do, right?
I want to put a dodecahedron in the middle of a Unity scene.
Then, if you open a notebook and load Unity, load Unity package and do Unity open a project, you should probably close your current existing Unity because we cannot open 2 sessions.
Okay. Okay. So I say here, what do I say here? I load the Unity package.
Unity link.
Okay. That's, by the way, an incorrect. I mean, you're aware of that. That's a progress dialog that isn't of the new type. Right?
We haven't standardized the new type. We're supposed to have that unification.
Yeah, I know. Okay. All right. So now I say Unity. What do I now say?
Unity open.
Just open close.
Let's put a string my project or something like that.
What's going to magically happen here? What happens here? Porting assets. Oh wow, something exciting is happening. Ta-da!
Probably skip. You probably have a old version. So.
Okay. All right.
Wow. This seems to be a pretty old version.
Okay, well, so I probably shouldn't have skipped the update. Should I do the update?
Yes. That will take some time, but yes.
What should I do here? Is Roger on this call by any chance? Roger Dooley is on this call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Any thoughts about this? Can we do this in the background somehow, or is it what do we have to do here? Download. Do I just
Mac.
download from Mac and then hope for the best?
But this is still a patch. You should probably get the 2018. I mean, this is, I think, a couple of years old.
Okay.
I mean,
tell
not
me
couple
what
of
to do.
year old.
I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. Well, let's see if it works. It may. I mean, is it going to work or is it going to fail, do you think?
It actually already failed because normally when it does the Unity open, we automatically load the Wolfram asset, the asset we need to actually connect back to the running kernel.
So I just did the download Mac. So what do I want to do here? I already did that.
This is a more a patch for your version, which is about a year old. You see, it's August 2020.
How do I get the new version?
I think if you go to the product on top of the page there is a link to product. And get Unity. I mean, just take the personal version. I mean, you have the professional license, so it will automatically update anyway.
So what do I do here?
If you press on try personal.
No, but it's going to ask me a bunch of questions, isn't it?
No, there is a download button there.
It's grayed out. Oh. Okay. Something's happening. But so I can download the personal version even though I've got a professional license?
Yes, I think it's during when it starts, where it actually.
Now I've got the download assistant. Now what do I do?
You press on the. You probably have to close the current existing one.
Current existing Unity?
Yes. Roger, does he have
Yeah.
What is that? What's going on there?
Does he have to go to the preference, Roger, and then to activate the download, or?
Do I have to log in as root or something? Okay. Why doesn't Roger try and figure this out? Meanwhile, I will simply look at documentation for a little bit. Okay. Okay. So the workflow is supposed to be: I say Unity open, and then what do I do? Let's go back to the main page here.
Depends on who you are. Okay. So let me just.
Yeah. Go ahead, Roger. Go ahead.
So getting started is a few basic workflows that you just kind of have to know, and it sort of deals with two environments. There's the notebook, Wolfram Language notebook environment, and there's the Unity environment, and it often shows what happens in one when you do things in the other. Sample projects are a little bit bigger, where you build like a mini game, and then there's sort of two sides to what's actually provided. One thing is sort of API bindings for the Wolfram language, and the other side is C# bindings for Wolfram language kinds of functions. The Wolfram language things are things you would use obviously in the Wolfram language, and you can sort of remote control the language, remote control the Unity engine. You can create objects, you can edit objects, you can track objects, you can generate statistics, you can convert assets automatically into assets into Unity of various kinds, like geometry, images, audio, those kinds of things, graphics.
That's cool. Mm-hmm.
On the other side, the C# bindings gives you access to call in the other way around from the engine into Wolfram language.
Yep.
To provide functionality.
Yep.
There's also a set of things that you can actually build standalone games, apps, and those are Unity deployment. See that in the first section? There's sort of Wolfram language functions they allow you to build complete, standalone things.
Okay.
Now you will have a game on your desktop, let's say, wherever it gets put.
Okay, so but this is okay. So let me just try to understand these things. So
there's about 500 objects. So it's about 500 functions.
Yeah,
substantial number.
I've seen this because I've seen it in the kind of knitting work.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So let me ask a few questions. So in terms of the callback from Unity to Wolfram Language, what does that wow, I'm being told that I sound very faint here. Really? Well, I've been using the exact same configuration forever and ever and ever. So I don't know.
Sound good to me.
Roger, do you want to comment on that? Is there anything I can do here to?
It's actually much better now. Suddenly.
Yeah, it improved.
Well, maybe I just moved the microphone away. Okay. Okay. So let's see. I was saying from within Unity, there's a callback, presumably, to our language, which goes through something like an API function. Is that correct?
Correct. So from Unity, if you see the second part, which we haven't yet fully documented, we have a Wolfram language class. And then you can do, for example, a method called evaluate.
Okay, so do you know, for example, like the Python language client library that just got finished? Have you guys seen that?
Briefly, but never use it.
Okay, because that's a comparable situation, right? Where it's calling into Wolfram language from Python, right?
Yes.
And I mean, I'm not an expert, so with respect to the .NET link, this must be similar. Is it similar to .NET link, or is it not similar to that?
It's pretty similar because they pretty much use the same interface. Yes.
So
it's almost the same. I mean, it's mono, so it's not.
Yeah, but so like this .evaluate thing, is that something where you give it a string, like you can say 2 + 2 or something?
Exactly, and you get back a string.
You get back a string.
Yes.
Is that good? I mean, are there not native types that you can get back?
Yeah, we can. Yes, there are native type. We can do that. We just haven't yet implemented that. And especially that in our case, right? I mean, we are a typeless language, so it's hard to anticipate what come back from the Wolfram language.
Well, I know, but that's what the Python stuff, that's what it's all about, is dealing with associations and converting them and dealing with all kinds of things, right?
Yes, we can build that. I mean, yes.
But but what are the types that Unity natively deals with? I mean, so for example, if what came back here from the evaluate was a polyhedral mesh or something, could you expect to deal with that natively?
No.
Why not?
Because if I recall correctly, .NET doesn't have it, but Unity have a mesh type, right?
No, but .NET, obviously, that's not going to be a native type in .NET.
Yes.
But the whole point is that's the thing, is that there will be some .NET data structure that, I mean...
So there is a function. There is a function that does convert that mesh into an object in the Unity system.
Right. So I think the key thing is that if any object, like if you have a mesh, a geometric object, a mesh or a graphic in the Wolfram language, right, we can convert them back to a corresponding Unity mesh object, right, which is a class for the Unity editor inside the Unity editor.
Right.
So
right.
Right, and we currently do that when you do a create game object, for example, but we haven't done that for the Wolfram language evaluate. So this native call.
I see. Okay. All right, fine. I really think you should look at. I mean, I guess between Todd Gailey and Dorian, Todd worked on .NET Link and has worked on the Java language client library, and Dorian has worked on the Python language client library. These are pretty well developed sort of callback systems. Obviously, a little different. The .NET one is more similar. Well, I don't really know. It depends on what the types that Unity can natively understand are. That's interesting. Okay. So what's this menu? So that's within Unity.
Yes. So from in the Unity menu, we added some several new items there. Where, for example, you can call back the Wolfram engine to create some geometry, pre-existing geometry, for example.
What the heck is spiky?
Oh, it was just the spiky. It was just, I think it's.
But these are Unity objects here. Is that right? Or are these? I mean, the links are confusing me because they're all blue. But I mean, are these in fact links to Unity classes?
No, this normally should be string to just say the list of we are still typesetting that page.
Okay, fine. But so those should be strings.
Exactly.
Okay. And obviously, okay. But so wait a minute. So when you do a Unity open here, it preloads some Wolfram package into Unity that, among other things, provides menus. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So it does automatically allows the setup, start the kernel, extend the menu, and set up all the
assets.
stage. Yep.
So within those menus, is there in fact a copy-paste location where you can effectively just copy-paste and evaluate thing? I mean, that seems like it would be the coolest thing is you're chugging along in Unity and you simply have this object that you created in Wolfram Language and you just, or this piece of code, and you would just paste that into Unity and it would just get run and return the result to Unity.
So you mean just a copy paste something from the front end and paste it in the Unity editor?
Well, I'm saying what I'm suggesting is, I mean, there are different ways you could do it. So one thing would be, I've got a piece of code, I've got a final, I've got a a random, I don't know if this is a real thing. Is that a real thing? How many?
Four.
What's that?
4, 3.
I want something more exciting. Give me something more exciting, a bigger one.
Bigger one. Let's type dodecahedron. Much better.
Okay. And then, okay, so what are you saying here? I should just, okay, fine. Well, okay, so what I'm saying is, let's just say that I want to get my, let's say, can I do stellated polyhedron of dodecahedron or something? And then, why did dodecahedron just return itself and stellated polyhedron of dodecahedron returned a polyhedron thing? Question one. Question two, why does this image look like it's grayed out?
Well, question one is that dodecahedron, it's a basic primitive.
I see. Okay, well, fair enough. Okay.
And question two, I probably have to look at it.
Yeah, it seems to have too much empty space and it seems to be a bit grayed out. But anyway, okay, magnificent. So there's a stellated dodecahedron. So the question is, what's the shortest workflow path to get that stellated dodecahedron into Unity?
So, well, the shortest one, you just do a create Unity game object of that
right,
output.
But that's from the Wolfram Language side. What
Yes.
I'm asking is, if you are looking at Unity and somebody simply is sending you a notebook or something without you being connected. So my understanding is, if you start up Unity with the Wolfram package in it,
yes,
which you can do standalone, you don't have to say Unity open from a Wolfram Language kernel, do you?
No, you can start the whole environment separately without the Wolfram.
So is it the case? I mean, are we intending to put it in some Unity store, the glue code, so that basically somebody can just go to the Unity store and download something where they can have the Wolfram plugin inside Unity on startup for them?
Yes, that should be the way to go. Yes.
Okay, so then they're going to get that. And then my question is, they're looking at some Wolfram language code and they say, I want that stellated dodecahedron. And how do I get it in there? Because what seems to me would be nice would be to have something where maybe there's just an input field where you just copy paste that code and you say go, and it runs that code in a Wolfram engine, gets the result back to Unity, and then, then it appears in the Unity editor.
I see. Yeah, we can add that. We can, for example, just have a new item in the menu which allows somebody to paste the Wolfram language code and then evaluate it on the kernel, existing local kernel, and then just paste back the result.
That seems useful to me.
So there are two scenarios. One is exactly, you're a game developer, you're living in Unity. Can you get a utility to do various things?
Exactly. And somebody could give you a library of just click here and copy this thing and stick it into Unity. I don't know how Unity stores. So a question would be, can you store a call to Wolfram language in the Unity, in your Unity project? Not the result from it, but the actual call.
Yes, it's well, in the current version, unfortunately, it doesn't work, but it's what we're building for a Unity deploy. So you can essentially we store it as a test inside the Unity object, the game object. Yes, we can do that.
Okay. Someone from our live stream mentions that a friend implemented a Lisp in Unity to emulate Emacs. So they'd love a similar Wolflang based interface, but I wonder what do they mean? I mean, what would that mean? I mean, I just don't understand. Within Unity, the way I see it, it's primarily like a drawing system, as I understand it, where you can attach code to various objects in the system. But is that the wrong way to think about it? I mean, is there?
It's a scene graph. So, and one of the big things is events coming back, collision events and other things, and you do things upon those events.
Okay, so for us, I mean, okay, so let's talk about those callbacks, which I imagine is, where is that? That's calling the Wolfram language from Unity. That's what we were just on. Okay, so your point is, when two dodecahedrons collide, for example, then you can generate an event, and that event can call code. Is that correct? Okay, so the analog of that, if you look at the Python language client library, which I hope I have a link to, let me just take a look.
But the other side is that Unity doesn't contain functionality for creating objects. That's, you create, your creative tools are somewhere else, and then you sort of give them to Unity. Unity has no functionality for creating, or very poor.
Yeah, I understand.
For creating things.
You know what? I wonder if I can get some. There we go. Thank you, Carla.
No problem.
Okay, here we go. So is this? Do you know if this is the latest version, or is this because I know Dorian was working on some things here. So
I think he's still working on some styling issues, but the content's pretty well done.
Okay, so take a look at this type of thing. Okay, so this is just calling a Wolfram language function, wl.minmax, calling it with a Python list as an argument. Am I making sense?
Right, but but the concept there is slightly different, right? Python is an interpreted, environment.
I know. Right. Yeah, I understand it's different.
But also, there's a practical issue too. You don't want to call the Wolfram engine in your game. I mean, you could do it during development, but we have to do additional work to find.
Well, you might want to. It depends what your game is doing. I mean, if you're, you absolutely might want to. You don't want to on every single collision of two balls or something, but you might want to in some more sophisticated situation.
Yeah, but we got to solve the distribution problem. If you're going to call it, if you're going to distribute your game,
right?
Okay, you're going to call
it right. Then it should be a Wolfram script callback, which can either go to a local Wolfram engine or to the cloud.
We already, there's that option of the cloud. There is embedded code where we can actually generate that callback, right? So we have also the support for Unity there.
But I think the analog here, like in the Python language client library, you are in a position to simply say, okay, I want this to run against the cloud, or, oh, I want this to run against a local engine. And the things that it can do, analogous to the Wolfram script. Look, if you look at the pure,
what I'm saying is that there got to be clean license terms for all that, and distribution terms.
I understand. I mean, but that's what we're doing with the Wolfram engine. I mean, we have that opportunity with the disembodied Wolfram engine. But here,
I think we can do that, but not on this time scale.
No, absolutely not on this time scale. I'm just trying to understand the roadmap. Okay, I'm not trying to understand the version 12 delivery. Okay, so, but go ahead.
So there is two key things to see here, right? So one thing is that you call the Wolfram engine from Unity in the Unity editor. The binding we build is to the .NET, right? So it's roughly exactly similar to the .NET link, right? Like the evaluator there. And that binding actually provides us enough power to control fully Unity from the Wolfram language and vice versa. If you go through the Wolfram script, you actually lost all that functionality because all you can do, roughly speaking, is an evaluation.
Oh no, I know. I'm not saying I'm not. Okay. By the way, Carla, very minor thing. Could you get that space added there?
Sure.
Okay. The point that I'm making is the way it's worth looking at the way these calls work. Okay, that it can call, which is analogous to the way the Python calling works, which I think is analogous to the way that the Java calling works. That is, for example, you can have a function that has been a Wolfram language function, and this calls that function just like cloud function. It calls the function remotely, but it passes the arguments. I mean, okay.
We do have it. So that's the example, the basic example. It's the embedded code, which does the call to the cloud, like we do embedded code for Java and other things. We have the same for Unity.
Okay, cool. Okay, but so let's go back over here, and I see. Okay. Well, all right. So where should we start here? So you're saying you one use case is you have a live Unity session, and you're pushing Wolfram language assets into that live Unity editor session, so to speak, and those assets will then be stored as part of your game. Is that the idea?
That's one of the idea. I mean, you have full control of the Unity. For example, you can actually control the game or the editing of the game from the Wolfram language fully.
Okay, so are you saying that if you're playing a Unity game and it's a multiplayer game, I don't know if this is a crazy idea, but I mean, so for example, could we use our reinforcement learning? Could we hook our reinforcement learning system to, well, either a one player or multi? Okay, let's ask this question. Let's say we want to do reinforcement learning against a random Unity game. Could we do that?
Yes.
How?
But we don't have it in place. So that was what I was discussing with Etienne a while ago. So, Unity currently actually is pushing into that direction of reinforced learning, where they have a package, haven't yet publicly released it, but it's still on beta. and they use TensorFlow for that, essentially. So we can pretty much plug it on it. It's a framework for that, and they have different, external module you can plug to it, and we can plug ourselves to it and do that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. But let's review. Okay. Bigger picture. Okay. So one thing we're trying to do is to provide a source of geometry, primarily geometry, to Unity game developers.
Also images and audio, actually.
Okay. So a source of assets for Unity developers.
Right.
And presumably we're going to have a marketing page that explains these points. Yes.
Right. But the other thing is that we haven't built many of these, but we can do more sophisticated asset kind of generation. So for instance, if you want a forest or a city, a lot of that will follow
right,
like point processes, stochastic point processes and other things. You can build a model for it, you can generate them, and then the cost of those kinds of assets is very low, requires very little human.
Right, that's nice. I mean, it's like what was originally done with Mathematica for the sims and so on, for generating all kinds of assets and so on, and procedural generation of things.
Right.
Okay, so that's so.
But right now, what's there as of right now is things like geometry, graphics, images.
So, do we imagine that okay? So somebody starts up a game, and they want to procedurally generate a bunch of stuff, and they want to use Wolfram Language in the loop to procedurally generate that stuff. That is otherwise known as calling the language inside the game, right?
Well, I don't imagine that unless we spend more time on how that engine is going to bundle and how the license terms are going to look.
Right, I understand, but just to be clear, the Wolfram engine that we have just been building, right, is precisely intended to be an embeddable Wolfram engine. So yes, the license terms have to flow through the Unity store and all those kinds of things, but the actual asset that we have is the correct asset.
We have to look at that. I mean, it sounds like it, but it's something that's not quite ready yet. And
actually, it is ready. Actually, that particular thing is ready. But
okay.
I mean,
how come it hasn't been announced then?
Because it isn't that ready. It's technically ready. And it is a plug-in thing for Wolfram script, where instead of running against your Wolfram 1 installation or something, you can run against the Wolfram engine installation.
Right. So I think that's a possibility. I think we're going to learn something about size limitations. I don't know if they're big or not.
Right. But okay. So one thing is static asset generation. Another is Wolfram Language in the loop asset generation, or Wolfram Language in the loop, AI in the game type thing.
Right. But the other thing, which is super important, this is a good way to teach game development. You can actually get somewhere without taking horribly long.
You mean by using a notebook to document what you're doing in the game development?
Exactly. And that's done at a lot of, high schools, community colleges, and universities, all of the above.
Yeah. No, I understand. So one thing you might be doing here is to have a notebook-based, a simple game development presented in a notebook. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Do you have an example of that?
Yes, in the sample projects, they're simple. They're particularly simple, but those can be developed much farther.
Okay, so this is.
Well, it's not yet fully formatted, but it's just to show how you can, build a piano from the Wolfram language, from the graphics.
For some reason, the way you say that, Charles, is just funny. Take that. Okay, that disembodied statement is amusing. Okay, all right. So Unity. Okay, create Unity scene. So what's that doing?
So first you open the project, and in the project, I mean, a game have different scene or levels. So that create a scene, and after that, then you need to create the geometry plus the material, which is in this case the color or the
So this create Unity material.
Yes.
Is that their file? That is their material file, or what?
Yes, that's the file. And
no, is that our file, or is that a file that's part of the standard Unity distribution?
No. So that one essentially, when you say black, it will create a material. It will create a file, a Unity file, material.
Oh, I
file.
see. This is the destination.
Exactly. So you take our black and then map it to the appropriate.
Okay, so you have to put the material into a file for Unity to understand it.
Right. In this case, yes.
Why?
I mean, that's generally the case. You can also assign the material directly, but for this game, that's the way we build it.
Okay,
so I can create a game.
I mean, if you're trying to simplify it, it seems obscure.
Right, because we're planning to reuse the material several times. So there was two materials.
Why don't we just store it in Wolfram Language? Why do we have to push it to a file in the Unity file system?
No, so the game is actually built on the Unity side, right? So we have to push that information to the Unity side. So we have to tell him we are going to create a key, and the color will be black. So that's roughly what we are saying there. Create Unity material black. And at the bottom, I think.
Okay, so create gain object platform properties material is this, but I don't understand why you don't do it. That this is a Wolfram Language object. This bkmat is a Wolfram Language object that then all gets packaged up when you say create Unity game object. Why are you making that be an indirect reference to a file there?
Oh, yes, definitely we can do that.
Okay, fine. It's just an alternative way of doing it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So then this is create game objects for the white keys. So each one is its own separate game object.
Yes.
Okay. Create the black keys. Fine. Okay. Now what's this? Okay, so that's then what that looks like in the Unity scene graph. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What's this? What the heck is this?
Right. So for Unity to do some control, you need to write some C# code. Right. So what we just did, it's in this case a template, because you need when you press a button, some action happen. We don't have that full control, so you need to actually call the Unity animator. So this is just a short script we do, and we push it to the Unity side.
But so when you touch a key in Unity, that generates an event. In this case, when you touch an object in Unity, it generates an event for Unity, and this is the event handler for that event. Is that correct?
Yes, in the Unity side. So that's the key.
This is actually keyboard keys. It looks
the
like
keyboard script. So you see it have a method called update. So every time I don't know how many 100 frames per second or millisecond, call milliseconds per second, it called that function, and then we check if the key was pressed, and then we call the animator.
Okay, but that animator is a Unity
class, yes.
Which is generic, or I mean, doesn't it have to know what the key is going to do? Doesn't it have to know the key is pivoting in some way and so on? Right.
So below we actually do those change in position. So essentially, there is each key have a transform component which carry the position based on the Euler angle. So we just have to modify those positions.
Okay. Well, so wait a minute. Does this work at this point? I mean, in other words, if I pressed one of these keys in Unity, where would it determine the key press? What does that have to do with the? I mean, is that the Euler angle that's involved? No, surely not.
So essentially what was happening. So this part was the camera, the position of the camera was not there.
Okay, but where does it say what to do, how to move the key?
Well, it seems to be missing here. So this is get component.
Okay. Well, maybe the bigger camera, bigger piano has it. No, doesn't seem to have it. Okay, no matter.
But there's a piece of code missing there. But yes, there should be that animator.
Right. Yes, the people on the live stream have noticed puppeting Unity via a Wolfram notebook. Awesome. Yes, it does seem to be. It seems like a pretty nice thing. So, but now one of the things that we're not able to do here, which seems like a shame in this notebook, is that's a screen capture, right?
Yes.
How would you use our code to just pull that back as an image from Unity?
We actually have an example which does that. We have function to do screen capture from the Wolfram language to the Unity.
Well, we have a generic screen capture function.
No, we actually in the Unity package we build Unity screen captures.
Okay, but not using the usual current screen image function, for example, right? Because we have one at the Wolfram language level. We also have one.
Yes.
But you're doing one specifically for the Unity window.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess there are two things one might imagine. I mean, one is to get the screen capture, and the other is to get, for example, some representation of the scene graph directly into Wolfram language, the whole scene graph.
Yes, we have so the way we have the different objects which represent, every game object represent one element in the scene graph, and then we have a Unity hierarchy graph which gives you the hierarchy of the scene graph as a tree.
The what? The
hierarchy.
Hierarchy. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yep. Right. As a graph, so you can manipulate it.
Wow, that's cool. Can you show me an example of that, of where the scene graph actually shows up as an actual graph in our language?
So let's type Unity. What's the name again? I need to open my Unity.
Okay, actually, another question on the live stream that I'm also curious about. Would you be able to control a Unity-based game without having the source code for the game?
Control Unity, no. And essentially here we do that control because you are inside the Unity editor. So it's during the development process, but we don't have no.
So you have to be able to instrument it during the development of the game.
Yes. And we really haven't even built in that direction. This is more about in the stage where you actually do development, you are in the editor mode. You are using actually Unity. Right. But if you build again and you have an executable, a binary, well.
Yeah, it's too late.
It's too late.
Is that so? It doesn't leave. Okay. So because the mono calls and things can't be done to the binary, is that correct? Their calls, the Unity. For example, you can't extract the scene graph of some random game that's just running, where you only have the binary.
I don't think so. Everything is already compiled, optimized, and no. And for your question, if you type Unity hierarchy graph.
Okay. Okay. Is it if I give labels, would it be
if I remember correctly, yeah, that should correspond to the leaf in the graph, right?
See how this now works. Unity engine is currently running.
Oh, right. You cannot start two of them. There was already one running. So.
Okay. So how do I, wait a minute, so something's happening here. Oh, it's importing something or other. Okay, so one application of all this stuff, we talk about a bunch of potential, AR and VR applications and putting our geometry. I mean, so what's the shortest path to getting some random complicated forest that you've got in Wolfram Language into a blank Unity project? Is that a meaningful question? I mean, so that you can just go explore it in VR, so to speak.
Create Unity.
Right.
What is it?
Yes. So any geometry you have in the Wolfram language, if you just push that in your project and you compile your project as AR VR object, you will get it. And it's what actually we did at the SIGGRAPH, right? And also during the conference, we demo some of those, where you can take our,
Okay, so I seem to have something up here. So what do I do if I want to push my I want to push my polyhedron to that Unity system?
Then you do a create
What do I
create
say?
game object.
Create Unity game object.
You give it a name and %40, I guess.
Or this one here, maybe. Is it the polyhedron or the graphics object?
Let's go with the graphic, because I don't know if your version have the.
Okay, so now what happens?
So if you go to Unity, you should see your object.
Oh, wow. Cool. Wait a minute. Why does it doesn't look right?
It uses smooth. So uses vertex normal to smooth it.
So the shading.
Yeah, the shading.
But shouldn't the default be to look the same as what we have?
That's actually the main key, because we have our shader. To be able to achieve that, we need to re-implement our shader on the Unity side.
Oh gosh, that's a pain.
Yes.
Right.
We just carry purely the geometry.
Okay. So if I were to take, so like for example, if I had, well, that's pretty cool that works. I don't know how to use Unity well enough to see what to do with this, but I don't even know how to rotate around here.
So you see on the top left, right, you have that.
Okay, great. Dandy, okay. Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
No, pretty much. I wanted to say, so on the right-hand side, you see the inspector there. We have, the mesh component is the one where actually we store the.
Okay,
and that's the collider, and then the mesh.
So if I go to material, why does it say physic material? Is that their typo or ours?
Probably their typo. Not.
Yeah, I don't think that's ours. Okay, but so how do I make it made of brass or something? Can I change the material or not?
Yes, I think if you double click on it, right. Oh, we don't have.
Select physic material. Is that we should check that that's their typo.
Yeah, that's the window that we have no control on those.
So it's their typo. Okay, weird. Okay, but for some reason we don't have any materials loaded.
No.
Okay, but so
in this case, for example,
okay, so for example, if I want to know what orientation, so I had been flapping around this creature here.
Yes.
Wherever, I don't know how to select it. How do I find out what orientation this thing wound up? So this Unity game object. For example, can I move that? If I move the Unity game object, or well, I was just rotating it. Tell me how to get back the rotation in here.
So if you say %45, and then you say transform component.
Transform component?
Just transform, sorry. Transform component.
Like this?
Yes. So you get you transform. Can you press on that plus sign? Right. So you get the actual rotation mapping. So then you can do % of rotation.
Isn't it rather horrifying that those Euler angles aren't in degrees? Isn't that going to mess everything up? I mean, they are in degrees, but they don't have a degree sign.
Oh.
I think you should fix that before it gets even worse, so to speak. I mean, in other words, you should have them come back into Wolfram language as 319 degrees. Okay, but so if I wanted to move that creature around, can I set the Euler angles of that thing? How would I do that for that game object?
Well, for sure, I know on top of, I don't remember so essentially, if you do percent, I mean, let's
45.
call that object obj or something, object equal percent 45. And then you can just say 45 bracket position. Let's just translate it. That's kind of the
obj what? Okay.
Bracket position, and then you can give a position.
Okay, so if I say 0, 1, 0, for example, here, okay, and I watch the unity side.
And you probably click on it, or let's say.
Maybe I don't know how big it is. Do we know how big it is?
No, it actually haven't. Can you put double bracket like part? I'm sorry, maybe I changed something. Don't remember.
This here?
Yes. And click on Unity.
Oh, yep. It moved. Okay, so if I click on the Unity thing, so if I say this thing goes to 3 there, and now I click here, ta-da! Where did it go? Did it exit the scene? Yeah, it's up there. Cool. Okay. Okay, that's really cool. Very nice. Okay, so I can go both ways. So I can both pick up that Unity object and okay. That's super nice. I mean, let's see. So we should obviously reach out to folks who do, game development. I mean, I would have thought that you could then script all kinds of things with this in the notebook. That would be really quite gruesome to do in other ways.
Exactly.
Okay, but so this is something yet different, Unity deploy. So, okay, so I think I understand these things. So this is creating a game object, pushing the game object to Unity, being able to read back attributes of the game object in Wolfram language. I think I understand that. So this Unity play thing is just literally remote controlling the play button in the Unity session. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So from within Unity, there's this callback mechanism. Okay, what is Unity deploy?
So that one currently have a bug, but in principle, that was one of your requests. So for example, if I have a Wolfram language, a function, and then I just want to attach it to an object in Unity. So if you do Unity deploy of that call, Wolfram language call, then, from the Unity, we can call back the Wolfram language code, essentially.
Okay, but how do I say where I want that code connected into the Unity scene graph?
Right. So essentially, you give the name of the game object, and you also specified which method you want to be, which you want to handle the callback.
By the way, I'm sorry, I just have to try something here. I'm just curious what happens if I say nest that guy and say, I don't know, 1.5 or something. I have no idea what I'm really doing here. But okay. And now I say graphics 3D of that. I just want to see what the performance is like. Okay, so I've got a more elaborate creature like this. Let's try 1.7 there. Okay, not too different. Okay, so now I want to take this thing and I say and let's see. Splarf, what happened there?
Yeah, discretize graphic failed.
Okay.
We'll have
Why?
To well, that's more a geometry issue. I think, the current issue we have in discretization of graphics is when you have several components.
Okay.
It's something we have to fix. when it's a full mesh object or a boundary mesh object, we discretize it. But when you have several components, we need to actually discretize each component separately and do a Boolean operation, a union. And I think is why it's failing.
Okay. So if I were to have, okay, what's another thing that I can do other than stellate? Bezel, what is it called? Bezel? No.
Bevel.
Bevel. Is that what it's called?
ED, beveled.
Oh my God, what's it doing? That may be insane. Okay, now let's do graphics 3D of that. Okay, that's a rather beautiful object. Now, so you think that will be easier for it? No, why is that not working?
Still the discretization. So.
But I mean, that's a very smooth object.
Well,
what does it mean? Why are you doing a discretized graphics anyway?
Because we need to get the geometry. From a graphic, you pretty much don't have the geometry, right?
Well, okay, so fine. So I don't want to do the graphic then. Let's do it from line 58. Which doesn't have, I mean, yeah, so that might be better to not have to reverse engineer.
No,
why does it?
Currently, we call always the discretization, the base code. It's the discretization.
But I don't understand why you have to discretize anything. I mean, aren't you just trying to take the geometric
Well, I
asset?
think that there's another limitation, which I think is Unity can only have triangles in their meshes.
No, they actually handle quad.
The
right?
quad, okay, but this beyond quad here. So.
But the key thing is that we need a Wolfram function which take that graphic and actually give us the correct geometry. Our graphics never actually have the correct geometry, right?
No, but this has the geometry, right? That polyhedron has the geometry.
Yes.
So why can't I just take that polyhedron and feed it to Unity?
Yes, that's something I need to fix in the discretized graphic.
Okay, but this is not discretizing a graphic because this isn't a graphic. This is just a pure,
it's a graphics
geometry.
It's a graph. Why? Well, I should correct that.
So
the base code we call is the same discretized graphic, but yes, it's not. Perfect.
Okay, fine. Okay, so this will work, is your basic claim?
Yes, that will work.
And will it work reasonably fast? I mean, is it going to, if I have a thing with, 10,000 polygons, is it going to be like no problem, or is it going to be like creaking?
Lately we have been trying to fix that. If you avoid computing the normal, it should be pretty fast because it's roughly the .NET share memory transfer.
Okay. What is the business about computing normals? Because Unity tries to create normals to do shading?
We actually currently adding normals to make it a smooth surface. I mean, to have that fun shader type thing.
I see.
Like in your case where you have your polygon there, your dodecahedron.
Yes.
It's smooth because we added the normal, which maybe we shouldn't do by default.
I wouldn't, especially if it takes a lot of time. I mean, or if there's an easy way. I mean, shouldn't it be an option to specify whether you want polygon normals added?
Yes, it should be.
Right. I mean, okay. All right. What else should we make sure to? I mean, this looks quite lovely, quite wonderful, actually. I mean, except for the fact that it's totally confusing because they're all blue links here. What else should we make sure to look at right now? I mean, this is obviously a rich thing, and I would love to look at it more.
I think
if you look at
all sides can have quite a lot more development to them. Both from within the Wolfram language, higher level functions,
right,
and from in Unity of how to call and get sort of really useful cases.
Well, I think we obviously need to reach out to some actual customers and see what. I mean, they're multiple.
So we've had a beta test with a bunch of actual customers.
Okay.
And
right, but, I mean, I think there are people in the VR, AR world who we should be reaching out to. There are people who want to use this essentially. So just let me understand something. I mean, so one of the use cases is using Unity as like a totally souped up manipulate. How would that work with this setup? Is that, I mean, in other words, let's say that you want to, I mean, that was the case that, those guys in Texas were doing for oil and gas stuff?
Not really. I mean, I looked at what they did. That wasn't what they did.
Okay. Well, but one thing one could imagine that they could have done, okay, is that you've got a Unity game and it is being used to control something which is being simulated either in Wolfram Language or through System Modeler, for example.
Yes.
And
yes.
then you're actually seeing
there are many of these developments that we haven't hooked up. There's more the System Modeler connections, there's machine learning connections. But there are more things to sort of bring online with this, even from the Wolfram language.
Fair enough.
And there are higher level functions, that not only sort of raw technologies like that, but there are higher level functions to be built.
But currently, the base module we have can allow somebody with some programming to do that. We have a couple of examples where you can actually do something similar. So you can be on the Unity, move your object, and then you see on the Wolfram side, the Wolfram language side, the object moving inside the dynamic.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. Well, it's very nice. I mean, as you say, there's lots of stuff that can be done with this. I just hope that the the various communities that should care about this can actually get reasonable access to it. I mean, in the sense that that they understand what it is well enough. I mean, clearly there's some important work to be done in making marketing pages, probably not just version 12 marketing pages, but a separate Unity link marketing page. That I don't know whether you guys have worked on it all or not.
Well, we've thought about it, and the question is sort of mostly resources and
yeah.
So.
All right. Well, great. I mean, okay. I should go to my next meeting here, but this is interesting too. Gosh, there's a lot of wonderful stuff here. What does that do in terms of logging game states? I'm sorry. Does it just give states of Unity game objects, or what does it do? Or
yeah. So essentially, it was when you have a game, you just add that component which is embedded in the Wolfram asset, and you essentially automatically feed the information about your game to a data bin. So the position where the player are, the action of the player or the user or whoever is.
Okay. Although, I mean, in some format it's added to the data bin, and probably the format matters.
Yes, and we had a template notebook where you can actually read that data bin and you get the statistic about your game,
Wonderful.
your player.
Okay, I've got to go to another meeting, but this is great, and yeah, I really think a marketing page would be worthwhile, and we can talk about how that should be slotted in.
No, we'll build a marketing page for 12 for sure.
No, I understand that, but I mean
the other one, sure.
Yeah.
But that's
separate discussion. It should also be talked about with the partnerships group and so on.
Exactly.
Okay, great. For people on the live stream, we are about to go to yet another meeting on a completely different topic. So maybe we'll see you there. Thanks for your participation, and see you all soon. Okay, bye.